Thelema is not merely a passing spiritual philosophy or religion. It is a profound call for humanity to seek their true will and break free from imposed constraints. While the roots of this philosophy trace back to ancient times, its essence only truly crystallized in the early 20th century at the hands of the controversial figure Aleister Crowley. He redefined it into an intellectual system built upon individual liberty and spiritual experimentation. With its core tenets, "Do what thou wilt," and the affirmation that love is the law, Thelema has sparked intense debate, not only on an intellectual level, but also regarding personal and social practices. In this video, we will explore the origins of Thelema, its fundamental principles, and the magical rituals it encompasses. We will also examine its influence on the modern world. Was this philosophy merely an intellectual revolution, or does it hold deep dimensions that transcend the traditional boundaries of religious thought? Stay tuned until the end, and don't forget to support us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel to stay updated with all our new content. The first mention of the word Thelema dates back to the literary masterpiece Gargantua and Pantagruel by the French author François Rabelais, published in 1532. In this satirical work, the Abbey of Thelema is presented as an imagined community governed by a single, simple rule: do what thou wilt, fais ce que voudras. This principle was not merely a passing slogan, but a philosophical rebellion against the prevailing religious authorities of that era, specifically the Church, which exerted control over nearly every aspect of daily life. To Rabelais, the Abbey of Thelema was a symbol of individual liberty, reflecting the idea of a society that transcends rigid laws and expresses human liberation in the pursuit of self-actualization and refinement without external guardianship. This call served as an intellectual revolution, challenging established constraints and suggesting that individuals should determine their own destiny according to their inner desires, free from any traditional authority. Over the centuries, the idea of Thelema evolved from a purely innovative philosophical concept into an actual spiritual movement at the dawn of the 20th century, when it was revived by Aleister Crowley. Born in England in 1875, Crowley was a complex figure who blended spirituality with critical thought. He was a poet, writer, occultist, and astrologer. Crowley was also a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, a secret society that synthesized ancient Egyptian magic with esoteric sciences. Through his profound spiritual experiences, Crowley developed Thelemic philosophy in a new light, adding an expansive intellectual framework that merged spirituality with individual freedom. This modernization of Thelema was not limited to magical practices, but included a comprehensive vision seeking to liberate the individual from social and religious shackles. In 1904, during a spiritual journey to Egypt accompanied by his wife Rose, Aleister Crowley began developing the philosophy that would form the bedrock of a new belief system later known as the religion of Thelema. During this trip, Crowley claimed to have experienced profound mystical encounters that served as the catalyst for establishing his spiritual philosophy. These experiences culminated in the writing of the Book of the Law, also known as Liber el vel Legis. Crowley described the book as a divine inspiration received from a discarnate entity named Aiwass, whom he believed to be his holy guardian angel. According to his account, Crowley dictated the book in just 3 hours over 3 consecutive days, leading to his firm conviction that the text was a celestial revelation beyond human origin. The Book of the Law is the cornerstone of Thelemic philosophy, blending ancient Egyptian mythology with deep spiritual symbolism. The book features 3 primary deities that reflect the philosophical foundations upon which Crowley built his religion. First is Nuit, the goddess of the sky, representing infinity, totality, and cosmic expansion. Second is Hadit, who embodies individual consciousness, motion, and time, an expression of the human ability to command one's own destiny and interact with the world. The third is Rahur-Kuat, associated with the solar deity Horus, representing the active will in the universe and the divine force that directs all things toward their purpose. Through this symbolism, Thelema embodies a fundamental principle, that the individual will is the engine of the universe. Thelema focuses primarily on the necessity of the individual following their true will without being shackled by external constraints, while simultaneously maintaining harmony with the higher will, the cosmic force that governs the universe. This concept is encapsulated in the most famous maxim of Thelema, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." However, this statement is not a call for chaos or blind rebellion. Rather, it is a summons to individual freedom within a framework of consciousness and cosmic respect. True will is considered the fundamental essence of Thelemic philosophy and the cornerstone upon which the primary beliefs of this religion are built. In this context, true will represents the ability to discover one's inner destiny and recognize their ultimate purpose in life. For the founder, Aleister Crowley, will was not merely superficial desires or passing whims. It was an essential force that defines the trajectory of human life and guides the individual toward authentic self-actualization. Crowley believed that true will is what dictates an individual's decisions, shapes their life path, and is responsible for their spiritual and intellectual liberation from external constraints. One of the most famous maxims associated with Thelema is, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." While this phrase might initially appear to be a call for chaos or selfish behavior, it reflects a profound principle regarding the sanctity of personal liberty. The core idea here is that true freedom is not achieved by living without boundaries or laws, but by discovering one's true will and living according to it with complete devotion and awareness. However, this does not imply that an individual is permitted to act recklessly or without restraint. The freedom Crowley spoke of is a conscious and responsible freedom, where a person must remain fully aware of their responsibilities toward others. In Thelema, this liberty requires that one's will does not infringe upon the will of another. Rather, it must remain compatible with the rights and freedoms of others. Thus, the principle is not a license for acting on personal caprice, but a call to achieve balance between the self and others. Alongside the concept of true will, Thelema places love at the heart of its spiritual philosophy. Love is not viewed as a mere fleeting emotion, but as a cosmic force emanating from the will itself. In his works, Crowley viewed love as the force that grants the will its meaning and legitimacy. It is the bond that connects the individual to themselves and the universe. In this context, love is the driving force that propels the will toward inner harmony and facilitates connection with the higher spiritual plane. This means that love in this philosophy is not imposed through coercion or dogma, but is celebrated as a liberating force that enhances personal growth and self-realization. Finally, the principle, "Every man and every woman is a star," reflects the belief that every human being is a unique entity with their own distinct orbit in life. In this framework, no single standard of goals or paths is imposed on individuals. Instead, everyone is encouraged to discover their own unique path through their inner will, signifying that the human self in Thelema does not follow a collective or uniform approach. Magical rituals are among the essential elements of Thelemic philosophy, aiming to liberate the individual from the spiritual and physical constraints that limit their ability to achieve their true will. In Thelema, these rituals constitute a primary means of enabling the individual to connect with the internal forces governing the universe and directing these forces for personal alignment. In Thelema, magic is defined as both a science and an art aimed at causing change in physical and spiritual reality in conformity with the individual's will. Aleister Crowley famously added the letter K to the word magic to distinguish it from stage magic or traditional illusions, emphasizing that it is a serious and profound process intended to influence the world through personal consciousness. Crowley believed that magic is not merely mysterious rites, but an active tool for channeling spiritual energy toward personal goals. In Thelema, every person is considered a magician, capable of effecting change in their life and the universe once they connect with and activate their true will through magical practice. One of the most prominent rituals in Thelema is the process of communicating with inner forces, a practice where the individual seeks to connect with the spiritual powers or energies that shape their subconscious and form the basis of their true will. These rituals enable the person to explore their inner self and interpret its messages, facilitating the identification of their spiritual path and enhancing their decision-making. The rituals practiced in this context may include deep meditative sessions or breathing exercises that aid in mental relaxation and internal focus. These practices are used to create a state of expanded consciousness, allowing the individual to interact with invisible forces, such as the spiritual energies that guide their life. Deep meditation is a cornerstone ritual in Thelema, aiming for spiritual immersion and the attainment of higher states of awareness. In this framework, meditation is a powerful tool for listening to the inner self and interacting with cosmic energy. Through this practice, an individual can achieve inner balance and gain the spiritual wisdom that leads to total liberation from material and mental shackles. Spiritual symbols also play a vital role in Thelemic magic, with incense and candles being among the most notable. Incense is typically used to create an atmosphere of spiritual purity and to assist in activating the will. It is viewed as a means of cleansing the space of negative energies and stimulating mental focus on the magical goal. Similarly, it is used symbolically to harmonize the individual with the cosmos. As for candles, they represent light and spiritual illumination, believed to open pathways of inspiration and strengthen the connection with cosmic forces. In Thelemic rituals, candles are lit with the specific intent of focusing the will toward a certain goal, whether spiritual or personal. Candles also symbolize transformation. Lighting a candle signifies the awakening of an internal power that contributes to the process of spiritual liberation. While Thelema upholds the banner of free will as a fundamental pillar, many of the customs and practices associated with it have sparked intense controversy over the decades, spanning spiritual, cultural, medical, and social circles. These practices were not merely fleeting religious rites, they were a comprehensive lifestyle advocated by Aleister Crowley, who worked to establish them among his followers until they became an integral part of this enigmatic philosophy's structure. Among the most prominent and controversial of these practices was the issue of sexual freedom, which Crowley considered a pivotal element in achieving one's true will. From a Thelemic perspective, sex is not merely a physical or instinctive act. It is viewed as a means to attain psychological balance and spiritual evolution. It is regarded as an individual right that should not be suppressed or restricted by traditional social or religious values. According to this view, exercising sexual freedom is a sincere expression of one's autonomous will, the very core of Thelemic doctrine. This vision met with widespread rejection, particularly from conservative societies that saw it as an explicit call to rebel against moral values and religious norms, with some even viewing it as a direct threat to the traditional social fabric. The controversy did not stop there, but extended to the use of drugs in spiritual rituals, a practice of which Crowley was a leading proponent. He believed that substances such as opium and hashish served as aids to expand consciousness and break mental barriers, enabling the practitioner to enter states of heightened perception and draw closer to the essence of the true will or latent spiritual forces. While some followers defended this as a means to reach spiritual enlightenment, the medical and psychological communities took a firm stance, warning of the negative impacts of these substances on both physical health and mental stability. Regarding its religious outlook, Thelema is distinguished by an unconventional approach that encourages religious pluralism and rejects dogmatic exclusivity. Thelema does not demand that its adherents align with a specific religion. Instead, it grants each individual the freedom to explore their own spiritual path, even if that path is derived from diverse religions or philosophies. In this sense, Thelema is one of the few belief systems that embraces and encourages doctrinal diversity, provided it does not conflict with the individual's free will or infringe upon the freedom of others. However, this inclusive vision was not welcomed in traditional religious circles, which saw it as a threat to the concepts of monotheism and divine supremacy as understood by Abrahamic religions. To these institutions, religious pluralism was viewed as a gateway to doctrinal chaos and spiritual confusion, rather than a path to freedom or openness. In conclusion, Thelema cannot be viewed as anything other than a polarizing philosophy that raises far more questions than it provides answers. It is a call wrapped in the guise of freedom, yet it carries within its folds concepts that may be interpreted as a justification for chaos or a bypass of moral responsibility. While its followers claim to seek spiritual liberation, this philosophy remains a subject of widespread criticism due to its inherent ambiguity and its blatant defiance of religious values and long-standing traditions, factors that make it a permanent subject of debate and suspicion. And with that, we reach the end of today's video. Don't miss the chance to stay updated with all our latest content by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon to receive all our new updates.